Welcome back to Ground Zero Salem. I'm your host, Pat. We're listening to The Aggravator full length on Head Split right now. Talked about this last update. Sterile Existence. Fucking ripper of a thrash record from Texas. Fucking awesome stuff. Venomous, spiteful, fucking mean, real good. So I got some more tapes to talk about and a few vinyl items here and there. Got some more stuff in from Caligari, a few nice extras that Ignacio sent me, as well as a few things that I ordered, stuff that I've been wanting to hear, a few hot items, you know. I talked about some punk records and other releases the last update. Half of that was from Grave Mistake Records, which I forgot to mention. Great, long-standing hardcore distro out of Richmond, or maybe it's DC, somewhere around there. I have the other half of that order I'm going to talk about. We'll dig into this Caligari shit first. I'm just going to grab it, not really going to look. Alright, so, first up we got Utter Tomb. This is fucking great Chilean death metal in the Chilean tradition. Necrocentrism, the necrocentrist. You know, most Chilean death metal is pretty dark and infernal and kind of doomy to begin with. I want to butcher their name, but Unterspressen Kulten and bands of that ilk is generally pretty like incantation and autopsy inspired, kind of dark, murky death metal kind of shit. This doesn't stray from that really, but there's more doom involved. The doomy riffs and passages on this are definitely worthy of taking note of, and if you like your death metal doomy and vice versa, I would definitely scope out this EP. Necrocentrism. Most of these songs, except for the last one, the song The Necrocentrist, were written in 2011. Necrocentrist was written in 2016. This was recorded in 2016 or 17, I believe. The Necrocentrist, to my ears, shows a little bit more of maturity, with blending of slow and fast tempos. The songs preceding it are good and have like faster death metal stuff kind of meshed with doomier kind of shit going on, but it's all really, really good. A lot of atmosphere to the production, suitable amount of echo, like with the vocals and shit like that. So yeah, obviously like dark, dungeony, sick, cryptic fucking death metal from Chile, like you would expect from that country. Awesome stuff. Next up, Funeralium of Throes and Blight. This is a fucking amazing release. This is 2 cassettes, and I don't know, if you pay attention to cassettes, you can see how thick the spools are. I don't know, whatever. The first song on the first side is 25 minutes long, I think, and it's the entire first side of the cassette. It's 4 cassettes, 4 songs, do the math. Incredibly heavy, incredibly depressive. I wish I knew more about Funeral Doom to give people out there more of a point of reference. I like Thurgathon, or Thurgathan, however it's supposed to be pronounced. I can't really give... there's some elements of Thurgathon in this, but other Funeral Doom bands I've never really listened to. It's never really been my thing. Mostly because I'm a short attention span, power violence, thrash metal, you know, early 80s hardcore punk kind of guy. But I've listened to this at least maybe 6 or 7 times all the way through. It's that good. Super engaging, a lot of different vocal styles. Primarily like a deep, like mournful kind of yelling, moaning kind of thing going on. There's also some good growly like death metal vocals. A lot of peaks and valleys. There's a lot of extremely dirgy sort of material going on, but it crescendos into almost mid-pace territory. This is a fucking amazing release. This band's from France, I'm pretty sure. I'm sure I'll be corrected if that's not the case. But if my addled memory serves me, these guys are from France, and they have a couple other releases before that, but Of Throws and Blight is a fucking jammer, and very, very worth your fucking time. That's a Caligari release. There was another one that I don't have in front of me. I think a lot of people are talking about this. Moinen of Zesbab, Belgian band, on a lot of people's, who are into black metal's, top whatever of 2017, for good reason. Same dudes from Perverted Ceremony, apparently. According to stuff I've read, the Perverted Ceremony stuff was recorded like 10 years ago, which I wasn't aware of. If that's all hearsay and BS, let me know, but I guess that's the case. You know, a lot of this stuff has been coming out lately. The Servant demo is a good example. That re-release, I guess, of Perverted Ceremony. Stuff that is doing its own thing, black metal-wise, breaking away from the pack as far as worshipping Norwegian stuff or specific countries, more paying attention to this sort of stripped-down, mystical, hypnotic kind of thing that the early Greek bands like Demo Level had, Verathron and dudes like that, and somewhat kind of a little bit, at least production value-wise, like Goat Lord. Samael, a big one, maybe for just trying to pull from a pool of influences or just trying to come up with a good basis for comparison. One thing with this is the fucking riffs. The riffs are catchy and hypnotic as fuck. The first actual song on it, there's an intro. The song after that is, it's got some great, like almost kettle drum sounding, like bassy drum parts that ring throughout and really nail it. There's a great smattering of keyboards with hooks that really pull it in for you on this one. So very, very fucking great stuff. Pull this one out. This one I almost feel not completely qualified to even comment on, because I know this guy's a YouTube guy. He's friends with a lot of people. I'm new to this game. You know, I've only been making these videos for maybe like 6 months or something. And I know that this gentleman is well respected, but this is the Bosmu tape, Sorcery from Within Arcane Caverns. YouTuber known as Bog Phantom did this. It's obviously a one-man project. Extremely necrotic sounding, stripped down, but everything well represented instrumentally, recording wise in it. Very much on the harsher, trebly end of black metal, like a lot of classic black metal, classic second wave black metal is. But two songs, both are very long, both are very much a journey into their own. The title track, Black Sorcery from Within Arcane Caverns itself, goes into some very interesting instrumentation that involves like dripping water and some really crazy vocalizations and stuff like that really sends you to another place. I mean, there's no more of a time that I'm more focused and like stuck in my own shitty reality than when I'm driving to work. Thankfully, I don't have a long commute. It's about a 15-minute drive. But a lot of my despair, as far as in terms of modern living, is felt while I'm trapped in that driver's seat, battling dumbass northern Massachusetts traffic, going through a lot of like four-way stops that should actually have stop signs, people cutting me off, etc., etc. And for some reason, the Bosmu demo, when I was listening to it, really hit me. It really hit that sense of homicidal isolation. I don't know. To give it a little bit of a personal sort of slant, like, thank you, Bog Phantom, for providing that soundtrack for me, my tiny little commute help. Another Caligari. Got the boss move through the Caligari distro. This was another Caligari release, hot off the presses. It's hard to keep up with Ignacio. I think he's already put out a few more releases since I've received these couple of cassettes that were gratis as a thank you, and thank you back. But this is a Finnish band. Finnish bands, this should be fun. Hurapuki. That's what their album cover looks like, their tape cover looks like. This is death metal with some black metal touches. Kind of a fresh approach. You know, it has cohesive riffs. You know, there's nothing too noisy, nothing too falling apart or technical to it. The stuff is catchy enough. The fast riffs are simplistic. It also has some very, very good doomy passages. And kind of more like Rossbake cultish kind of vocals, those kind of roaring, otherworldly, demon god about to descend upon the earth kind of thing, kind of vocal approach. One weird and cool thing is the third song is almost like a different band, and I mean this in the best way possible, but the vocals are the same. The slow parts are pretty similar to the slow parts on the rest of the songs. Kind of punishing, slower, doom death kind of stuff. But the riffs on that third song are like almost like immortal, like they're on the thrashier end of the spectrum of second wave Norwegian black metal, which is really, really good, and it's a really good riff. Another thing of note on this release is the solos are fantastic. Super hummable, very catchy, melodic. Just whoever the guy is that does the leads in this band is, you know, hats off to you. Like, very, very, very good, tasty solos in this otherwise kind of chaotic, warlike, malevolent kind of band from Finland. Definitely a cool tape worth checking out. You know, it's 4 songs. It has a unpronounceable to me Finnish name. Voimu on Orekta. Yeah, sorry. So that's it for the metal stuff. Now, I've got some stuff that I got in from Grave Mistake. I talked about half of it on the last update, when I was talking about the brain solvent propaganda stuff. This is stuff that I hadn't really absorbed yet, and I'm going to get into it now. A couple of 7 inches first. Let's start with Heat from San Diego. First of all, fucking, how about that art? That's a gorgeous little painting right there. This is on Deranged Records, who I might as well have been living in a fucking vacuum. I didn't know they were still around. I looked at their website. They've released gobs and gobs of fucking great shit in my absence. This side is over, so I'm gonna awkwardly stop this. Gonna pause you. Again, back to Heat. Yeah, great artwork. San Diego band. I believe they're relatively new. Angry, fast hardcore. As generic as that sounds. I'd say it's borrowing a lot of the fury of bands like Infest and Siege and Crossed, you know, all the power violence stuff, and kind of pushing it through more of an early 80s negative approach, Coro kind of filter. They're not going out of their way to like bash you over the head with sort of like really insane time tempo changes or kill you with oh, this part was so fast, here's a crazy breakdown. I'd say more of the tempo variation is between the songs themselves and not within the songs. But the songwriting itself is the important part. Incredibly memorable, some excellent stompy, slower riffs. And even though the recording style is not my favorite, with like everything being blown out and like kind of the shitty mic style, maxed out kind of thing, it works for this band, and it sounds fucking great. I picked it up. I read the description of the band and I was like, yeah, it sounds cool. They listed off a bunch of bands that I liked, like Neanderthal and Life's Blood and stuff like that. But mostly I was like, fuck, that fucking record cover looks awesome. So that's why I bought it. Definitely worth it. Another one is like a partial Boston band, this band Aggression Pact, who played that, they played that Battle Ruins weekend I went to months ago. It's a new project with members of bands that I'm familiar with. If you're into DIY hardcore that's more stripped down and fast and angry, you might know them too. The guitarist is Chris Corey, who played in Mind Eraser and Magic Circle and a shit ton more. The guitarist, Danimal, played in Waste Management and a shit ton of other bands. He plays guitar in this. The singer, whose name escapes me right now, sang in a great band called Wasted Time, who I think were from Virginia Beach or somewhere down that way. Correct me if I'm wrong. They were fucking awesome. Wasted Time was one of the better bands of the aughts, as far as just like stripped down, angry, sort of Poison Idea, sort of Negative Approach inspired, little bit of Oi in there, kind of great 2000s hardcore. This band has all that going on. There's always going to be a certain amount of Poison Idea and Negative Approach influence with bands like this, but I feel like there's a little bit more flair to the riffing, like maybe like Raw Power, a little bit more like European hardcore, not punk, but like hardcore, like Raw Power and VGK especially on this. Yeah, super, really fast, but not pushing the like Negative Approach, DRI, Siege, like fast kind of stuff, but fast enough to still be catchy kind of thing going on, if you know what I mean. This came out on Painkiller, who are a local label that just continually pumps out great hardcore music. Yeah, I've spun the shit out of this a bunch since it arrived, and they were excellent live too. I highly recommend this. Fucking ripping 80s style hardcore. Fucking awesome. Another good one is this Enforced demo. You can tell just by looking at the logo, there's a bit of a tribute to Exhorder going on there. I would say a bit of an influence as well. I think these guys are from Richmond too. This is in a very small niche of a growing genre or sound, I guess, recently, where the only other two bands I can think of that fit in it are Power Trip and Foreseen, where it's got the violence of late 80s New York hardcore. You can tell that the members listen to their fair share of Leeway and Killing Time and stuff like that. Might like some newer stuff like Terror and I don't know what else. Maybe some newer Reaper bands, Take Offense, shit like that. But it's definitely very, 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 very thrash metal in execution, to the point where you could play this for an older guy that only listened to thrash, never got into hardcore, and he'd love it. But the tempo changes and the breaks, for better or for worse, are enough to make a bunch of kids kick the dog shit out of each other. Very, very good. If you like the first Power Trip record, and if you like Foreseen, this is definitely up your alley. It's got some of the best riffs out of all that stuff that I've heard, and I can't wait to hear more by this band. This band, Sinister Purpose, I think is also from their neck of the woods, but I might need correcting on that. This band is really, really cool, and I wish I had a full length from this band and not just a 6-song demo. Sounds a lot like COC at their best, and I don't know what your definition of COC's best is, but mine is 6 songs with Mike singing and Animosity. As much as I love Eye for an Eye, and actually as much as I like Blind. I like their stoner rock shit. I don't give a fuck, you know. Yeah, all day. But this is kind of that Mike Dean era shit that this kind of calls to. Vocals are a little fuzzed out. Bass playing is a little frenetic and noodly, but it's still all very, very tight. Except the difference between what keeps this from being complete COC worship is that it's got more of a discharge pace to it, a discharge sort of charging, dare I say, sort of D-beat tempo to a lot of it. And also thrown in there seemingly randomly, but also really working for it is like almost like a kind of a two-step, like New York hardcore kind of thing here and there. Fucking fantastic cassette. Can't wait to hear more from these guys. And this kind of more falls in line with my last update. I feel like I talked about more stuff like this in the last update. This is really good. This is female-fronted dark punk rock. You know, there's a lot of this stuff that kind of lately, like Slimy Member and Gassed and everything, that kind of takes the mob and takes Rudimentary Peni and maybe some West Coast stuff like TSOL and Christian Death and yada yada. All these kind of ranges of influences and experiments more with the dark kind of goth punk thing, but makes it a little bit more punk, a little bit more punk, hardcore punk. That kind of stuff has been going on for a while now, almost 10 years at this point, I feel. This band, Kuraka, from Austin, Texas, I feel like it's sort of like that, but less on the noodly high end. It's more like straight 3-chord crushing kind of shit. More of a Killing Joke kind of vibe as opposed to other kind of influences from that era. It's really great. Suitable amount of, like a decent amount of echo on the vocals. Very, very emotive, echoey female vocals. All the lyrics are in Spanish, and they're from Texas. I did a little bit of reading, and I don't know anything about this shit whatsoever, but I read some, I don't know, some fucking noisy article about this band as it happened, that said that they were influenced by a specific scene of Spanish punk bands that were called Siniestre. I guess it was his own little subgenre. The only one of which I'd heard of was Paralysis Permanente, and I'd never even heard that band. Maybe a few MP3s randomly, but I don't know. I want to explore that genre now because that sounds fucking dope. You know, dark Spanish punk sounds like a good time to me. But yeah, this is an EP or a demo or whatever you want to call it. 7-song tape. It's that's what the shells look like, and it's fucking good. I said a few times during this whole tape series that I was going to talk about No Visible Scars, but I realized that pretty much all the No Visible Scars stuff that I have was featured on my newer Boston Bands update. If you want to look through my videos, you can look it up. The only tape that I have that isn't on that Boston edition or whatever is this band Vomit Breath, and I made it a point to pull out this tape and mention it because this is fucking great, stripped down, nasty, violent, blood-dripping grindcore. Came out in 2015 on No Visible Scars. Take a quick look at the J card there. You know, if you like Repulsion and early Carcass, it's up your alley. You know, Blood, shit like that, really good. I just thought I'd give that a quick shout because I'm not sure if No Visible Scars is doing stuff right now or what. They're certainly not as prolific as Head Split or Caligari, but they put out some really, really great stuff, including like Impenitent Thief, Death God Messiah, who are great as well, and some other stuff. So I thought I'd throw that out there and just mention that Vomit Breath. If you can track it down on cassette for cheap, or even for a little bit more, like I'd say it's worth $10. You know, pick it up. It's really, really good. But yeah, that's it right now. Game of Thrones is over. What am I gonna fucking do? I guess that. But yeah, have a good night, everybody. Hope your Monday doesn't suck.